Today, I'm going to be discussing the barriers an athletic director has based on the standards of, of leadership for the state of Missouri. The first standard, which is the mission, vision, goals of educational leaders, that is to have the knowledge and the ability to ensure success of all students by facilitating the development, articulation, implementation, stewardship of a school district's vision, learning supported by a school community. The barrier that comes into mind is parents. When it comes to parents and sportsmanship during a school-sponsored event. Some strategies. This is what I've gotten from the NIAAA leadership training course. Ways to get around this barrier is to hold a preseason parent meeting. And part of this strategy as well is to establish an activities handbook for sportsmanship. This allows you to during this meeting to discuss what sportsmanship looks like at an athletic event. The third strategy of this is to do a sportsmanship announcement at a school sponsor event. The second standard, which is teaching and learning, and the barrier of this standard is being able to hire and retain coaches. This is a big issue that comes up because coaches come and go, and the reason why I got this from the Coach AD website, and then keeping coaches at your school. The idea of this, being able to retain coaches is during your interview, you need to be asking questions about what the coach feels their future is, and also where they're from, because more than likely, if they're embedded in the community, they're more than likely willing to stay. The second one is the athletic director making sure that you're giving constant support to coaches, and that's mainly in situations of working with parents during different situations. And another part of this support is making sure that as the activities director that you are organized and you have all the scheduling in place so that coaches don't have to worry about that. The last part of this last strategy is to make the culture of the program not just about winning, but about growing students for future success. The third standard, which is the management of organizational systems. A big barrier to this is for an activities director is being able to hire an adequate number of coaches, because not every teacher wants to coach, and there are multiple numbers of coaching positions, and the reason why this is so important is because you want to be able to properly, monitor athletes to keep them safe and be able to give them the most out of whatever activity that they're doing. And the best strategy from the research that I've done is basically, as for most athletic directors, what they've turned to is they have to hire coaches that are not teachers outside the school. One way that they're able to maybe facilitate and to fill this role is if there's any like security positions or teaching assistant positions, where someone does not have to have a teaching certificate, but they can still work at the school. The fourth standard, which is collaboration of families and stakeholders. A big barrier of this for this standard is inappropriate communications by parents in an athletic department. And through going through the NAIA leadership training course for athletic administration, there's a couple things that you can do to keep that communication appropriate. One is to hold a preseason meeting to discuss how parent and coaches will communicate with each other. The other one is to discuss with coaches on how to communicate with parents. Coaches sometimes, I'm one of them. It's not one of my strong suits. And the last part is to establish a part in the activities handbook discussing the guidelines for parents and coaches on how they need to communicate with one another. The fifth standard, which is ethics and integrity. The big barrier to this is developing a culture that's not just about winning, but about teaching students life skills that translate to a successful life. This is tough. This is a tough situation. Some ways I feel, not necessarily I feel, but as I've researched, ways that you can build a program that's just not based on winning, that's really truly about building successful people for the rest of their lives, to help them do that, is to develop a character building committee, to which, during that committee, you develop programs for each specific sport to use to establish that culture. Giving out awards for demonstration of outstanding character to students and teachers and coaches, everybody in the building. And lastly is having professional development for character building skills. The last standard, which is professional development, a big barrier for this in an athletic department is funding, being able to fund professional development, and also the coach's understanding of why professional development is important. Like I had said earlier, there are multiple coaches based on need that are not in education, so they might not necessarily understand the importance of professional development. Some strategies to use to build on this is to make room in the budget, because professional development's important. Apply for grants for professional development if you cannot find any room in your budget. Another part is, give an understanding and building a culture that you want your coaches to learn and to become better coaches through learning. And then also holding professional development at your school. There's multiple avenues for that.